Let's fall asleep. Friday, 3rd July 1942. Dear Kitty, Harry visited us yesterday to meet my parents. I had bought a cream cake, sweets, tea, and fancy biscuits, quite a spread, but neither Harry nor I felt like sitting stiffly side by side indefinitely. So we went for a walk, and it was already 10 past 8 when he brought me home. Daddy was very cross and thought it was very wrong of me because it is dangerous for Jews to be out after 8 o'clock, and I had to promise to be in 10 to 8 in future. Tomorrow, I have been invited to his house. My girlfriend, Jophie, teases me the whole time about Harry. I'm honestly in love. Oh no, I can surely have boyfriends. No one thinks anything of that. But one boyfriend, or beau, as mother calls him, seems to be quite different. Harry went to see Eva one evening and she told me that she asked him, "Who do you like best, Fanny or Anna?" He said, "It's nothing to do with you." But when he left, they hadn't chatted together anymore the whole evening. Now listen, it's Anne. So long, and don't tell a soul. And like a flash he was gone. It's easy to see that Harry is in love with me. Rather fun for a change. Margaret would say, "Harry is a decent lad, I agree, but he is more than that." Mummy is full of praise. A good-looking boy, a well-behaved, nice boy. I'm glad that the whole family approve of him. He likes them too, but he thinks my girlfriends are very childish, and he is quite right. Sunday morning, 5th July 1942. Dear Kitty, our examination results were announced in the Jewish Theatre last Friday. I couldn't have hoped for better. My report is not at all bad. I had one Vatasis, a 5 for algebra, 2 sixes, and the rest were all 7s or 8s. They were certainly pleased at home, although over the question of marks, my parents are quite different from most. They don't care a bit whether my reports are good or bad, as long as I'm well and happy, and not too cheeky. Then the rest will come by itself. I'm just the opposite. I don't want to be a bad pupil. I should really have stayed in the 7th form in the Montessori school, but was accepted for the Jewish secondary. When all the Jewish children had to go to Jewish schools, the headmaster took Liz and me conditionally after a bit of persuasion. He relied on us to do our best and I don't want to let him down. My sister, Margaret, has a report too, brilliant as usual. She would move up and come Claudia if that existed at school. She's so brainy. Daddy has been at home a lot lately, as there is nothing for him to do at business. It must be rotten to feel so superfluous. Mr. Coffwish has taken over Travis and Mr. Carler, and the firm Colin and Co. When we walked across our little square together a few days ago, Daddy began to talk of us going into hiding. I asked him, "Why on earth?" He was beginning to talk of that already. "Yes, Anna," he said, "you know that we have been taking foods, clothes, furniture to other people for more than a year now. We don't want our belongings to be seized by the Germans. But we certainly don't want to fall into their clutches ourselves. But we don't want to fall into their clutches ourselves. So we shall disappear of our own accord and not wait until they come and fetch us." "But Daddy, when would it be?" He spoke so seriously that I grew my anxious. "Don't you worry about it. We shall arrange everything." Make the most of your carefree young life while you can. That was all. Oh, may the fulfillment of these somber words remain far distant yet. Yours, Anne. Wednesday, 8th July 1942. Dear Kitty, years seem to have passed between Sunday and now. So much has happened. It is just as if the whole world had turned upside down. But I'm still alive, Kitty, and that is the main thing, Daddy says. Yes, I'm still alive. Indeed. But don't ask where or how. You wouldn't understand a word. So I will begin by telling you what happened on Sunday afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Harry had just gone but was coming back later. Someone rang the front doorbell. I was lying lazily reading a book on the veranda in the sunshine, so I didn't hear it. A bit later, Margaret appeared at the kitchen door looking very excited. The SS have sent a call-up notice for Daddy, she whispered. Mummy has gone to see Mr. Van Daan already. Van Daan is a friend who works with Daddy in the business. It was a great shock to me. A call-up, everyone knows what that means. I picture concentration camps and lonely cells. Should he allow him to be doomed to this? Of course he won't go, declared Margaret. While we waited together, Mummy has gone to the Van Daans to discuss whether we should move into our hiding place tomorrow. The Van Daans are going with us, so we shall be 7 in all. Silence. We couldn't talk anymore, thinking about Daddy, who, little knowing what was going on, was visiting some old people in the Jotse Invalid, waiting for Mummy. The heat and suspense all made us very overawed and silent. Suddenly, the bell rang again. That is Harry. I said, don't open the door. Margaret helped me back, but it was not necessary as we heard Mummy and Mr. Van Daan downstairs talking to Harry. Then they came in and closed the door behind them. Each time the bell went, Margaret or I had to creep softly down to see if it was Daddy or not opening the door to anyone else. Margaret and I were sent out of the room. Van Daan wanted to talk to Mummy alone. When we were alone together in our bedroom, Margaret told me that the call-up was not for Daddy, but for her. I was more frightened than ever and began to cry. Margaret is 16. Would they really take girls of that age away alone? But thank goodness she won't go. Mummy said so herself. That must be what Daddy meant when he talked about us going into hiding. Into hiding. Where would we go? In the town or the country? In a house or a cottage? When? How? Where? These were questions I was not allowed to ask, but I couldn't get them out of my mind. Margaret and I began to pack some of our most vital belongings into a school satchel. The first thing I put in was this diary, then hair curlers, handkerchief, school books, a comb, old letters. I put in the craziest things with the idea that we were going into hiding, but I'm not sorry. Memories mean more to me than dresses. At 5 o'clock, Daddy finally arrived, and we phoned Mr. Kopuesh to ask if he could come around in the evening. Van Daan went and fetched Mape. Mape has been in the business with Daddy since 1933 and has become a close friend, likewise her brand new husband, Hank. Mape came and took some shoes, dresses, coats, underwear, and stockings away in her bag, promising to return in the evening. Then silence fell on the house. Not one of us felt like eating anything. It was still hot and everything was very strange. We let our large upstairs room to a certain Mr. Goldsmith, a divorced man in his 30s who appeared to have nothing to do on his particular evening. He simply could not get rid of him without being rude. He hung about until 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, Mep and Hank Van Santin arrived. Once again, shoes, stockings, books, and underclothes disappeared into Map's bag and Hank's deep pockets, and at 11:30 they too disappeared. I was dog-tired, and although I knew that it would be my last night in my own bed, I fell asleep immediately and didn't wake up until Mommy called me at 5:30 the next morning. Luckily, it was not so hot as Sunday. Warm rain fell steadily all day. We put on heaps of clothes as if we were going to the North Pole, the sole reason being to take clothes with us. No Jew in our situation would have dreamed of going out with a suitcase full of clothing. I had on 2 vests, 3 pairs of pants, a dress on top of that, a skirt, jacket, summer coat, 2 pairs of stockings, lace-up shoes, woolly cap, scarf, and still more. I was nearly stiff before we started, but no one inquired about that. Margot filled her satchel with school books, fetched her bicycle, and rode off behind Mep into the unknown as far as I was concerned. You see, I still didn't know where our secret hiding place was to be. At 7:30 the door closed behind us. Mortez, my little cat, was the only creature to whom I said farewell. She could have a good night with the neighbors. This was all written in the letter addressed to Mr. Goldsmith. There was 1 pound of meat in the kitchen for the cat, breakfast things lying on the table, stripped beds, all giving the impression that we had left helter-skelter. But we didn't care about impressions. We only wanted to get away, only escape and arrive safely. Nothing else. Continued tomorrow. Thursday, 9th July 1942. Dear Kitty, so we walked in the pouring rain, Daddy, Mommy, and I, each with a school satchel and shopping bag filled to the brim with all kinds of things thrown together anyhow. We got sympathetic looks from people on their way to work. You could see by their faces how sorry they were they couldn't offer us a lift. The gaudy yellow star spoke for itself. Only when we were on the road did Mommy and Daddy begin to tell me bits and pieces about the plan. For months, as many of our goods and chattels and necessities of life as possible had been sent away, and they were sufficiently ready for us to have gone into hiding of our own accord on July 16. The plan had to be speeded up 10 days because of the call-up, so our quarters would not be so well organized, but we had to make the best of it. The hiding place itself would be in the building where Daddy has his office. It will be hard for outsiders to understand, but I shall explain that later on. Daddy didn't have many people working for him. Mr. Carler, Coprius, Mape, and Ellie Versen, a 23-year-old typist who all knew of our arrival. Mr. Versen, Ellie's father, and 2 boys worked in the warehouse. They had not been told. I will describe the building. There is a large warehouse on the ground floor which is used as a store. The front door to the house is next to the warehouse door, and inside the front door is a second doorway which leads to a staircase. There is another door at the top of the stairs with a frosted glass window in it, which has "Office" written in black letters across it. That is the large main office, very big, very light, and very full. Ellie, Mape, and Mr. Coffees work there in the daytime. A small dark room containing the safe, a wardrobe, and a large cupboard leads to a small, somewhat dark second office. Mr. Carler and Mr. Van Daan used to sit here. Now it is only Mr. Carler. One can reach Carler's office from the passage, but only via a glass door which can be opened from the inside but not easily from the outside. From Carler's office, a long passage goes past the coal store, up 4 steps, and leads to the showroom of the whole building. The private office, dark, dignified, furniture, linoleum, and carpets on the floor, radio, smart lamp, everything first class. Next door, there is a roomy kitchen with a hot water faucet and a gas stove. Next door, the WC, that is the first floor. A wooden staircase leads from the downstairs passage to the next floor. There is a small landing at the top. There is a door at each end of the landing, the left one leading to the storeroom at the front of the house, and to the attic. One of those really steep Dutch staircases runs from the side to the other door opening to the street. The right-hand door leads to our secret annex. No one would ever guess that there would be so many rooms hidden behind that plain grey door. There's a little step in the front of the door and then you are inside. There is a step staircase immediately opposite the entrance. On the left, a tiny passage brings you into a room which has to become the Frank family's bed-sitting room. Next door, a smaller room, study and bedroom for the two young ladies of the family. On the right, a little room without windows containing the wash basin and a small WC compartment, with another door leading to Margot's and my room. If you go up the next flight of stairs and open the door, you are simply amazed that there could be such a big light room in such an old house by the canal. There is a gas stove in this room, thanks to the fact that it was used as a lavatory, and a sink. This is now the kitchen for the Van Daan couple, besides being general living room, dining room, and scullery. A tiny little corridor room will become Peter Van Daan's apartment. Then, just as on the lower landing there is a large attic. So there you are. I have introduced you to the whole of our beautiful secret annex. Friday, 10th July 1942. Dear Kitty, I expect I have thoroughly bored you with my long-winded descriptions of our dwelling, but still I think you should know where we have landed. But to continue with my story, you see, I have not finished yet. When we arrived at the Prince Guards, Maeve took us quickly upstairs and into the secret annex. She closed the door behind us and we were alone. Margaret was already waiting for us, having come much faster on her bicycle. Our living room and all the other rooms were chock full of rubbish, indescribably so. All the cardboard boxes which had been sent to the office in the previous months lay piled on the floor and the beds. The little room was filled to the ceiling with bedclothes. We had to start clearing up immediately if we wished to sleep in decent beds that night. Mummy and Margaret were not in a fit state to take part. They were tired and lay down on their beds. They were miserable and lots more besides, but the two clears up of the family. Daddy and myself wanted to start at once. The whole day long we unpacked boxes, filled cupboards, hammered and tidied until we were dead beat. We sank into clean beds that night. We hadn't had a bit of anything warm the whole day, but we didn't care. Mummy and Margaret were too tired and keyed up to eat, and Daddy and I were too busy. On Tuesday morning, we went on where we left off the day before. Ellie and Map collected our rations for us. Daddy improved the poor blackout. We scrambled the kitchen floor and were on the go the whole day long again. I hardly had time to think about the great change in my life until Wednesday. Then I had a chance, for the first time since our arrival, to tell you all about it, and at the same time to realize myself what had actually happened to me and what was still going to happen. Saturday, 11th July 1942. Dear Kitty, Daddy, Mummy, and Margaret can't get used to the second of the Westerton clock yet, which tells us the time every quarter of an hour. I can. I loved it. From the start, and especially in the night, it's like a faithful friend. I expect you will be interested to hear what it feels like to disappear. Well, all I can say is that I don't know myself yet. I don't think I shall ever feel really at home in this house, but that does not mean that I loathe it here. It is more like being on vacation in a very peculiar boarding house. Rather a mad idea, perhaps, but that is how it strikes me. The secret annex is an ideal hiding place, although it leans to one side and is damp. You would never find such a comfortable hiding place anywhere in Amsterdam. No, perhaps not even in the whole of Holland. Our little room looked very bare at first with nothing on the walls, but thanks to Daddy, who had brought my film star collection and picture postcards on beforehand, and with the aid of paste pot and brush, I have transformed the walls into one gigantic picture. This makes it look much more cheerful, and when the Van Dans come, we'll get some wood from the attic and makes a few little cupboards for the walls and other odds and ends to make it look more lively. Margaret and Mummy are a little bit better now. Mummy felt well enough to cook some soup for the first time yesterday, but then forgot all about it while she was downstairs talking, so the peas were burned to a cinder and utterly refused to leave the pan. Mr. Coffeus has brought me a book called Young People's Annual. The four of us went to the private office yesterday evening and turned on the radio. I was so terribly frightened that someone might hear it that I simply begged Daddy to come upstairs with me. Mummy understood how I felt and came too. We are very nervous in other ways too, that the neighbors might hear us or see something going on. We made curtains straight away on the first day. Really, one can hardly tell them curtains, they are just light, loose strips of material, all different shapes, quality and pattern, which Daddy and I sewed together in the most unprofessional way. These works of art are fixed in position with drawing pains, not to come down until we emerge from here. There are some large business premises on the right of us, and on the left a furniture workshop. There is no one there after working hours, but even so, sounds could travel through the walls. We have forbidden Margaret to cough at night, although she has a bad cold, and make her swallow large doses of codeine. I am looking for Tuesday when the Van Dans arrive. It will be much more fun and not so quiet. It is the silence that frightens me so in the evenings and at night. I wish like anything that one of our protectors would could sleep here at night. I can't tell you how oppressive it is never to be able to go outdoors. Also, I'm very afraid that we shall be discovered and be shot. That is not exactly a pleasant prospect. We have to whisper and tread lightly during the day, otherwise, the people in the warehouse might hear us. Someone is calling me. Friday, 14 August 1942. Dear Kitty, I have deserted you for a whole month, but honestly, there is so little news here that I can't find amusing things to tell you every day. The Van Dans arrived on July 13. We thought they were coming on the 14th, but between the 13th and 16th of July, the Germans called up people right and left, which created more and more unrest. So they played for safety. Better a day too early than a day too late. At 9:30 in the morning, Peter arrived, the Van Dan's son, not 16 yet, a rather soft, shy, gawky youth. Can't expect much from his company. He brought his cat, Moshi, with him. Mr. and Mrs. Van Daan arrived half an hour later, and to our great amusement, she had a large potty in her hat box. I don't feel at home anywhere without my chamber, she declared. So it was the first thing to find its permanent resting place under her divan. Mr. Van Daan did not bring his, but carried a folding tea table under his arm. From the day they arrived, we all had meals cozily together, and after 3 days it was just as if we were one large family. Naturally, the Van Dans were able to tell us a lot about the extra week they had spent in the inhabited world. Among other things, we were very interested to hear what had happened to our house and to Mr. Goldsmith. Mr. Van Daan told us. Mr. Goldsmith phoned at 9 o'clock on Monday morning and asked if I could come around. I went immediately and found G in a state of great agitation. He let me read a letter that the Franks had left behind and wanted to take the cat to the neighbors, as indicated in the letter, which pleased me. Mr. G was afraid that the house would be searched, so we went through all the rooms, tidied up a bit, and cleared away the breakfast things. Suddenly I discovered a writing pad on Mrs. Frank's desk with an address in Maastricht written on it. Although I knew that this was done on purpose, I pretended to be very surprised and shocked, and urged Mr. G to tear up this unfortunate little piece of paper without delay. I went on pretending that I knew nothing of your disappearance all the time, but after seeing the paper, I got a brain wave. Mr. Goldsmith, I said, it suddenly dawns on me what this address may refer to. Now it all comes back to me. A high-ranking officer was in the office about 6 months ago. He appeared to be very friendly with Mr. Frank and offered to help him should the need arise. He was stationed in Maastricht. I think he must have kept his word and somehow or other managed to get them into Belgium and then on to Switzerland. I should tell this to any friends who may inquire. Don't, of course, mention Maastricht. With these words, I left the house. Most of your friends know already because I have been told myself several times by different people. We were highly amused at the story, and when Mr. Van Daan gave us further details, laughed still more at the way people can let their imagination run away with them. One family had seen the pair of us pass on bicycles very clearly in the morning, and another lady knew quite definitely that we were faced by a military car in the middle of the night. Okay, so I think this is it for today, this part, and hopefully you have fallen asleep. Okay, so I'm not gonna raise my voice and make you awake again, in the belief that you are in a deep sleep and your dreamland. I wish you sweet dreams and good night.